Gwen's house now, or Richard, whoever had it. That doesn't look anything like it did. It's wonderful.
Well,
They've spent-
that was a pretty place at one time,
And it was so well built,
yeah.
solid,
Well, Mother insisted on that house.
yeah.
When her father died, she got $2,000 for her share of the estate, and she put it in that house. And as I remember, they just about paid
Is it about paid for it?
About paid for it,
Oh my gosh.
I think that's
Think of
what
that.
Ted was telling me.
yeah.
Well, now, who was your mother?
Her name is Flakey, Flake,
And where was she from?
from Arlington.
Arlington, Nebraska?
Yeah,
Oh.
see, that's down there the other side of Fremont.
Oh, that's why that's where the reunion is.
That's where the
Yeah.
reunion is all.
I see, yeah.
We wanted to go down there this year, and Mary and I both had the flu
Evidently
or something.
flu that was going around.
And we just couldn't go. Mary'd have to do all the driving.
Did you ever live there and go to school
Where,
from out there?
Oh, yes,
Did you?
yeah, that's where we lived. When we went to grade school, first we went to District 76. That was the old school close to where John Riepe lived.
Oh, yeah.
And that was no road over there, just across pastures. And then, when that closed up, then I spent 2 years down in 16, that's south of town here, you take that road over, and that old schoolhouse.
that little schoolhouse is
Sits
still
there
standing by the
Just
road.
before
Oh,
you go
yeah?
down the creek. Yeah.
Oh. Gosh,
That was quite a little walk.
Well, it's about 2.5 miles by the road.
Yeah.
And of course, we cut across, catty-cornered across the place.
Okay.
When I went to high school, I drove from out
You drove?
there. Yeah.
Chet was telling me how he used to walk from out there.
Chip said he walked from there.
Yes. That's what he told me. They used to walk in, he always appreciated it in the wintertime when the river froze over, because then he could walk right across the river. Now you tell me.
That walking across the river on the ice scare the dickens out of you the first time you do it. You get out there and it crack just like
Yeah.
a thunderclap, and you figure the whole thing's going out from under you. And you look around, you can't see where it cracked anywhere.
Did you walk clear in town?
Chet, I don't know whether Chet walked all the way in. No, I
I'll
think,
get you down.
I think he
napkin
drove
pretty
that
soon,
Model
when I
A
wait till you
Ford.
get finished.
I don't know. Probably when the Ford didn't start, he walked though, huh?
pardon?
When the Ford didn't start, he walked.
Well, that Model A was pretty good about starting.
All right.
Model A Ford was a good starter, and a Chevrolet was a good starter at that time. But one of the first cars I had.
You better put your crumbs in your napkin, then you won't spoil your paper.
But, I had a Chrysler, and that booger, when it got real cold, it was hard to start.
Is that one of the shells was still left out there?
No, that first one I had, that was a Chrysler 65. I can't remember what year. See, Dad started out with a Buick Ford,
Yeah.
touring car. Then he traded for a Chrysler. And then he got still another Chrysler. Dad was rough on cars. He wouldn't change oil. And when he got them started, he'd goose the heck out of them, you know. That wasn't the thing to do either. That old Buick he had, it had the cone clutch in it.
Oh.
And Dad just never would let that up easy. He'd shift it in the gear, and whether he's going back forward or backward, he'd leave a black streak about that long. I know one time, I was with him, and we stopped and picked up a kid along the road that was walking home from school, and offered him a ride, and Dad got stopped, you know, and the kid was just getting in the back seat, closing the door, when Dad let that clutch out. And God, the lid flew off his dinner pail. He picking himself up, and Dad looked around, and he said, "You gotta watch this car, it jerks a little."
He had a sense of humor, didn't he?
Gosh. How far south, well, after you two got married, how far south of Curtis do you live?
We live about 15 miles south of Curtis,
Oh, gosh.
and it was about 25 miles into McCook,
How far to Indianola?
about 25.
About 25?
And then Stockville was probably about that too, but
That was the county
there
seat?
was no point going to Stockville.
They're sticky.
That was the county seat?
Yeah,
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Realize
Too
it was
messy.
such big.
Too messy.
Did you have to buy a
Big
license
should've
every
been
year at that
Plate
place
fork
big
there or a
pieces.
spoon.
for your vehicles?
Yeah.
Delicious.
yeah, you had to have a
Thank
license
you,
plate,
Grace.
but no
Sure,
driver's
wait.
license.
Right. My grandmother Hayes never did have a driver's license.
I'm gonna give you a wet rag.
No, she
and
never
dry
had
one.
to take a test for a driver's license. That's what she always bragged about.
Tell me that, she what?
Graham Hayes never had to take a test for a driver's license.
So did you just, they just go and pay so much for a license and that was all it was, and
Yeah.
a
Evidently.
piece of paper with, that would have been easy. I worried about parallel parking and all that and everything. They probably didn't have to do that.
No, she didn't. And
Were
then she,
were you a Hayes?
my mother was.
Oh. See, where we used to live here, Burns
Dawson.
Dawson lived never to us.
Yeah.
I used to get a kick out of Burns. I don't care what you throw at her, she'd come back
Oh,
with an
yeah.
answer. Oh, you never had to guess at what she was thinking. She thought it, she said.
She and my mother were cousins.
Oh,
Their dads were brothers. And they didn't live too far apart. And a lot of people didn't know whose kids went with who.
oh,
Because I think they each had 7.
yeah. Well, you see, in Murray's family, she's the oldest of 12.
And
Yeah,
they're all still living. That is just
yeah, yeah.
historical. That's wonderful.
No, except 2 have lived longer than our folk.
Really? Now, where did they come from? The
Germany.
Frises? Germany? Mhm. Just came directly from Germany to, this
No.
area?
No, Dad came when he was 5 years old with his folks, and they lived in Edison.
Oh,
And Mother came when she was 18 after World War I.
oh.
And she settled in Benkelman with her uncle and aunt.
Well, how did they get together?
Church meeting.
Really? Hmm.
Didn't it?
So what
You
was,
used to live out here west of town between here and Holbrook?
Long, long time ago.
Yeah.
so what was your, okay, your dad settled in Edison.
Yeah.
And what was that name?
Tobias,
Tobias?
DeVries.
Reeves.
Okay.
Bud has his name. Bud's Tobias too, you know.
Yeah.
Tobias was his last name?
All right.
No, no,
First.
your first name.
Oh, okay. All right.
So then was the nickname Toby?
No, his nickname was Bud.
Always been Bud. In fact, I didn't know his name was Tobias
Yeah.
till I was in high school, maybe. So it's Bud,
Yeah.
Probably longer than that.
probably.
Bud was just a kid. I had him come up to the farm with me and drive a tractor on a binder. at that time, I asked him what his name was, and he told me it's Tobias. But up to that time, I didn't know anything but Bud.
Is that,
That's really an old name, isn't it?
Well, he has a grandson that has the name of Tobias, doesn't he? Isn't that?
It is now, that was Mary's idea, you know.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Sarah's.
He's known as Tobias Gearhart.
That's Bud's name, and his name is Tobias Nathan.
Oh.
See, this spring, he went to have his name changed.
That's fine, maybe.
I suppose that's supposed to help him through life. Tobias Gearhart the third.
You know, there is a lot in the name.
Well, there's some here. I was just like that guy on television, trying to rent a place, you know, and he uses all kind of accents, and he's always been rented already. And when he finally talks like an American, then he's available.
I hadn't seen that.
He changes his name too, doesn't he?
Huh?
He changes his name.
Oh, yes, he always, they ask
First
for a
he's
name.
First he's a Mexican, or a Spanish.
Well, you know, Sam's name isn't Sam. Sam's name is Vernon Alvin, but he always said, when he was small, he was freckled, and they called him Sambo in school. Well, you don't call anybody Sambo anymore. you
Yeah,
know?
right.
And, he's been, somebody asked my sister, who I married, and she told her Sam Cunningham. I don't know Sam, he's somebody, I don't know. She didn't even know that his name was,
What's that?
it's always been Sam.
Well, I knew
I don't know anything.
Toots Hoffman quite a while before I found out what her name was. And then Sonny Moore.
What her real name
I've known her
What
several
was
years.
Sonny's real name?
Huh?
What was Sonny's real name?
was. Hazel.
Oh, Hazel? Gosh,
Wasn't Mrs. Hoffman Lorraine?
I remember Sonny.
Well, when her half-brother stopped here not too long ago, and they kept saying about Orville and Hazel. They're the only ones that really know.
Really knew.
I knew that ever called her Hazel all the time.
Oh,
We always called her Sonny.
where are those people from?
Missouri.
Missouri?
We met them down in Texas.
I see.
Well, they came down there to see Orville and Sonny. See, that's Harvey Alvin,
Ellen,
he's
half-brother.
half-brother of Sonny's.
Mhm. Okay, that was, oh, well, she didn't have any family for
Years.
years.
Yeah, and then finally, she got a phone call, and
Well, when
His
her
half-
father was on his
his half-brother
deathbed, that's when they really got started locating.
contacted with her.
Was that right?
Her dad was about to pass away.
See, he remarried and changed his name. Let's see, how was it? Anyway, his first
Oh,
name,
his name was Alvin Clemens.
and he made it Clemens Elvin.
Oh,
Hmm.
Well, Don, when did your dad arrive in this part of the country and where'd he come from?
Well, my folks came from England, Yorkshire. In fact, we traced the family back to the 1600s.
Oh,
Leyland, or Donna McCoy,
oh,
got done that. And they came, I don't know just when, but they ended up in Illinois. And then from there they came on out this way.
your
And
mother and your dad, or just your dad?
my dad, well, my mother too, but they ended up in southern Iowa. And then they were drowned out in that country,
Yes.
and they came on out
Where
this
it was,
way.
where it was dry, huh?
You're right.
God.
Well, they came to the right place.
How'd they travel with, did they travel with wagons or did they have,
Well, I don't know, it was before the turn of the century.
Had to be wagon.
yeah,
See, I own a homestead yet
oh yeah,
Good.
that was patented in, can't remember, is it 83 or 73?
oh,
But I have, my sister inherited it and I ended up buying it from her. But it's got very few entries on the abstract,
Oh,
Okay.
bet.
other than back, you know, for $200, everybody, if you loan somebody $200, you got to put your name.
Well, you look at some of those little abstracts, and people came out and proved up on it. And if some of them that same day, they went and borrowed money on it, had a mortgage on it right away.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Good thing they find somebody to loan the money.
Well,
They had
there were
the
people,
lions.
there were people who would loan a little bit of money to get a mortgage on the place.
Oh.
Because if you had a dry year, they'd end up, that's how some of that.
They don't own the land, huh?
That's how come some of them old timers had so much land.
You bet.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, you're talking about, this is a story Doug Gary told me. But where his house is right over there, north of Four Corners, they really homesteaded, I think, on the west side of the road. But then these people, they were having trouble, and for $200, they bought that, however much land was in there that they owned. He paid $200 for it. His dad did. Clear back there, long, long time ago. Just think, that whole farm, $200.
Well,
Gee,
the farm we have, we bought for 16,000,
yeah,
800 acres.
okay.
Today, it'd
Yeah.
sell for somewhere between 200 and 250,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you how we happen to have that new car. See, I had some telephone stock in Curtis Telephone Company,
Oh,
and some of that stock I'd had for 60 years.
Oh my gosh.
it's that chicken money.
That's it.
Yeah.
Quarter.
But anyway, I think, I don't know I know the first little chunk of it we got, we paid $20 for it. And then later on bought a little bit more, we ended up with 32 3/4 shares. And the telephone company sold. And we got $217,000 out of it.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
hey.
Oh my God.
So
Is
Mary
that
said-
right?
Mary said, we're getting a new car.
Oh my God.
Gosh,
Great. Yeah,
Yeah.
my God.
don't you have any more stock like that? Oh, that was,
Gosh.
60 years worth of ownership?
Well, on the first,
When he
our
bought the
first
farm, that's when
it wasn't much of a lot line at that time. It was just a neighborhood line.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, that neighborhood line went over to Curtis and became part of Curtis Telephone Company.
Oh.
And it went on from there, and for about 6 or 8 years, the stock dividend was more than we paid for the stock in the first place. I always said, God, everybody should have stock like that. So then when it sold and brought that kind of money, gee, they just about bowled us over. There was some of those people that had over 100 shares of stock, ended up with almost $1 million out of it.
Oh, my
Is
God.
that right?
Oh,
Well, good for
And
them.
you know, most of these current country owned telephone companies was give to,
Yeah,
I know that one up there, through there, that was give to, no, it ended up Arapahoe Telephone Company.
the almond?
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose,
Well, Al's brother.
right.
but we had decided, you know, in our will, that we were gonna leave some money to Arapahoe Scholarship Fund, and also to the Curtis Scholarship.
So we did that.
So we had all that money, we said, my God, we better hurry up, give it out to the scholarships. So we give 50,000 each one.
Oh, my God.
That's 100,000 we won't have to pay income tax.
What a generous gesture.
Right.
Gosh.
We,
Very, very
we
nice.
thought we'd better hurry up and give it away before we
Went
decided to go to
interstate.
Monte Carlo.
Oh dear.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Well, Grace, do you think our meeting,
So,
are you still?
You can go anytime you like. I got it going, but you can go anytime you wish.
Are you,
I like to get in before it gets dark. I'm a little bit stumbly.
all right now?
Did you drive up?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
And I got locked out the other night.
It was rainy?
Yes, when it was stormy.
Oh, more like.
I'm supposed to be in by 10 o'clock. Well, it really wasn't. They felt real bad about it, but
I'm sure they did.
I was a little bit upset. About wore my knuckles out trying to knock on the door.
Well, Helen, if you feel like you want to go, you may go anytime. We've appreciated your being here.
Yes.
Well, I am,
But we're not quite finished.
well,
We need to talk a
you
little more.
just talk all you want to.
We'll show you the film when it gets done.
Okay, and I hope you understand.
Oh,
We
yes.
do,
That
we
we-
do.
Yes.
We don't want you to take any chances.
I don't wanna be falling.
That's
No.
right, that's right.
And,
I
We've
like
surely enjoyed your stories.
yes,
a little bit disjointed. I didn't.
Not at all. Not at all.
Well, this is so interesting, and I'm so glad you asked me.
Well, we're happy to have you and all you bring with yourself.
Wonderful.
Great.
And your cookies are delicious.
Well, that-
They are.
They're a little messy, I'm afraid.
And Carol Jean and Don, it was good to see you.
Same here.
It's always good to see you too.
not very often anymore, do we?
No,
Well, that's why it's special, isn't it?
Here's your paper.
Oh, thank
I
you.
thought
Thank
it'd
you.
be easier if I picked
thank
up.
you.
Would you like me to drive you or help
No,
you out?
no, thanks.
I'll help you out to the car. so you
Well,
don't
if you
stumble.
did just to the
Yeah.
door, because I can get the rest of the way.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for
You take care, Helen.
asking me. Thank you very much. I'll get organized here so that I have a
Have a free
bell,
arm.
balance.
Okay.
See you next
Bye,
month.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye, Ellen.
Now, are you superstitious that you want to go out the same way you came
Well,
in?
absolutely.
Okay, I figured you were.
Oh, my day.
Okay.
I never thought about
I
that.
did.
This way.
You don't have to.
Right here, you haven't talked much about the DeVries.
I'll get there.
there isn't too much to talk about, is there?
Okay.
I could tell you about the Bockermans.
Well, go ahead.
See, my grandfather, Bockerman grandfather, he came to America on a forged passport
Oh,
because he didn't want to serve in the German army.
oh,
He had a drink and poured some of the whiskey on himself so he smelled real drunk. And staggered down the gangplank to show his visa. And the guy wouldn't even look at his visa. He just shoved him down the line, called him bisophonous swine, a drunken hog.
oh.
That got him by.
That got him by. And my mother, my grandparents, my granddad on mother's side, at that time in Germany, when an estate, the eldest son got the estate,
Yeah,
and whatever cash there was, that was divided among the siblings. Well, he got $2,000, so he just took his $2,000, headed for America. That's how he got over there.
you know, his Stewart car runs in that, the German.
Oh, yeah.
And the eldest gets
And I'll
the
tell you another
business
one.
or whatever.
Our family name wasn't always Bockerman. It was Palmar.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, see, there was a ruling in Germany at that time that an estate always kept the same name. And this Palmar married the widow Bockerman and took the name Bockerman because of the estate. And I say, that really wasn't so dumb, you know.
No.
Hell, for a good-looking rich widow, I wouldn't mind changing it again.
I didn't get in on that one, but that's all right.
But there's some crazy things happen.
Yeah.
These people, these genealogy people, they always make me think of Judy Canova. You remember when she used to be on radio?
Yeah.
She came on one night and she said, I had our family tree looked at. I'll have you know there were dukes and earls. And the MC asked, no counts? She said, yeah, there was a few no counts. So that's kind of risky when you start looking up your ancestors.
It can be.
What, Dick Myers built the house out there
Yeah, Dick Meyer and Crummy.
on Crewey?
Right.
August Crummy.
Gus Crewey? Okay, yeah.
Dick Meyer built a lot. He built ours.
He did?
He built the one where Walter Lysing lives.
Oh.
He built the one from Tiki's. And all the houses are all the same blueprint.
Well,
Oh, are they? Huh?
Yeah.
All
They're
the same.
alike.
Dickie Hermus's house.
Oh,
No. Oh gosh, I can't remember who it was.
He built a lot of houses.
Oh, yeah.
Out on the home place, it was Crummy and Dick Meyer built the house. But Scott Willard was the builder of the barns.
Oh,
Scott Willard was a good barn builder,
I see.
but he was no good in the house because he left too many hammer marks.
Oh, God.
and your mother didn't want that for that $2,000,
No.
did she?
Oh, God.
When they were building the barns, at that time, you know, you got carpenters out there and they boarded right with the family, stayed
Oh,
with the family.
didn't drink coffee?
And so this old Scott Willard, mother fixed up some different dish and she said, how do you like that, Mr. Willard? Pretty darn good feed. That's all she'd ever get out of him.
That's what he does once in a while.
I tell her it's pretty darn good feed.
Yeah, my dad always tells how Dick Meyer was sawing the rafters on the house. You know, ours It's
Yeah.
a bungalow, they got,
Yeah.
comes in and got those angle saw on the thing, and the guys was up on the roof putting them together, and Henry was down there on the ground was sawing them, and they'd get them up there and couldn't make them.
Fit.
Henry says they got it then. They're made to the square. That's the way he sawed everything. That square, he knew how to read a square, and Dad said they would if they get them right.
Down in the valley there, we had a neighbor, who was in the Marine Corps, and he told about, they asked if there was a carpenter in the crowd, and there was a Swede spoke up, and he said, I'm a carpenter. They wanted a building built. Told him what they wanted, and he ordered the lumber for it, and brought it out there, and he went to work and went to sawing away at it. Sawed all of that stuff, and then put it together. And he asked that Swede, he said, how in the world can you do that? The Swede said, don't you know how to read a square?
Yeah.
He said, no. He said, I show you. So after work that night, he brought his square over to this guy and told him all the stuff that was on the square. There's a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And he handed it to him, and he said, now you tell me. And he said, I thought I remembered some of it at least. He said, I started to tell him, he took a square back again. I tell you again. And he went through the whole works again. And he handed him the square, now you tell me. He said, well, I thought I remembered a couple of things. And I started out, and the guy just reached over and pulled the square away from him. He said, you too dumb, I don't think you ever learned. He got up and walked off.
Oh, God.
Well, you know, the old timers really were smart.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
The things they built were there to stay.
How creative they were.
But
Yes.
old Frank Palmer, you know, that was Ed Lawman's dad-in-law,
Yeah,
Mabel's dad.
Okay.
He told me about back in Ohio where he came from. The carpenters had a 10-foot pole, you know. And what them kids would do, they'd go to work and saw about a half an inch off that pole and then rub dirt on it so it didn't show. And then they'd go to work, saw his timbers, and they wouldn't fit.
oh, God.
Oh, oh.
Boy, that make you feel like splitting somebody's skull, wouldn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez. So then, Don, your dad lived over here across this road from me,
Yeah,
didn't he?
yeah,
Did he move from the farm
Yeah.
in here?
yeah, we moved the same day.
Oh, okay.
We
You
emptied
traded places.
we emptied a room out up there and come down here and loaded out a room full of furniture.
Oh, okay.
Went up there and unloaded it and loaded a load there, and of his moved in here. And see, Dad had owned a house down here. Dad and Mom had bought a house down there south of the Catholic Church.
Oh,
And I think was it Mac and Norma Peterman were living in it. And Dad didn't want to kick him out when he moved to town, so he moved into our house and we moved
I see.
out there. That was in '61.
I didn't know what year that was.
Our Pinochle Club moved us.
You go back quite a ways, huh?
Our club,
Mm-hmm.
45 or 46, 47 years.
Is
Something.
that right?
Oh, my gosh.
That's wonderful.
That's good.
Some of those.
The only one we have lost is Alvin Collins. When we formed our club, I mean, this, yeah. Fritz and Neil belonged and they dropped out. Madeline belong, of course they were, they're divorced,
And Wayne and Connie,
yeah.
after they split,
And then
Our group's been there.
Peggy and Delbert moved away.
yeah. Clinton Ardell still belong. Eileen Collins still belongs.
Bob and Lori
Bob and Lori Anderson.
themselves.
You know,
That's great.
you know,
Right.
what about, you know.
You know.
Do you guys play
But I don't
cards?
bang my hand on the
Do you
table.
play cards? Do you guys play
Oh.
cards?
Yeah, but not,
We haven't played cards in a long time.
I don't know how long.
Even down there in Texas, didn't you play cards there?
Oh, yeah. Some people, they just, that's all they wanna do is play
There's-
cards.
Yeah.
And I get fed up on it, I thought,
He doesn't like playing that cards that way.
we had this one guy, you know, after about so many cards were played, he'd have to go through what's left over there and go through them, see what'd been played.
Oh.
They finally called him on that, said, you can't remember, forget.
That's right.
Did you bet money on it?
No.
Not down there, no.
Then you just fun,
When I was in the army, we bet money.
huh? Yeah.
Not a lot, we never had much.
Do you have all your army material, your memorabilia and dog tags and that kind of stuff?
Well, I have some.
Do you? That's wonderful.
I don't know why we're keeping them.
Well, it's just to look over and.
You tell Grace the same thing. She just went through a bunch here this last
Yeah,
week.
I was thrilled to death to find those things. I just thought it was wonderful. I've even got his train ticket. I took him from Arapahoe to Farragut, Idaho, and his passes when he was on leave, in R&R or something in San Francisco. But those are such nice keepsakes. I love that stuff. And have you got your stuff saved? Some of it,
He doesn't have his passports or anything like that.
don't you? Well,
I've got a helmet liner
do you?
and.
Where did you serve?
Well, I was First Armored Division out of Fort Knox. I was in 13th Regiment. And in 42, we went over to North Ireland. We stayed there that summer, and that fall, we shipped to North Africa.
Ooh,
That's not as bad as you think down there. And Algeria, Iran, we were in on the invasion there in Iran, but I never got shot at there, because by the time we got my tank unloaded, it was pretty well over with. See, that was kind of a put-up deal. The French were down there, supposedly guarding that, but they'd already made a deal with them, you know. They just put up a token fight and give up. But while they were doing that, people got killed. Crazy.
well, I guess what we don't know won't hurt us, but
Then we got done there in Africa and went to Italy.
Oh, gosh, you're on an invasion there too, huh?
Yeah. Well, they had a beachhead established by the time they shipped us over there. And we sat there on the beach, on Anzio Beach for quite a while. And then we went out of there and made a drive and went to Rome. And then we were supposed to get up as far as Pisa and Florence. But we got stopped there, had too much resistance. And about that time, they decided to reorganize. And by that time, I had enough points worked up to come home. So I thought I'd much rather see that Statue of Liberty as a leaning tower of Pisa.
a good move. At least you had the option.
How long were you in?
Well, I was in a little over 4 years.
Were you?
4 years and 5 months.
Oh my gosh.
Were you guys married then?
No. After I got out, you know, I got a job picking corn for Little Almond, and she was cook there.
Oh, that's how it got together,
And,
huh?
Well, not really. Then, you know, I went up to the farm and I lived up there, bashed up there at the farm. And I got awful tired of my own cooking, and I remembered that, heck, Mary could keep house, cook. So I come down and roast her with us.
Did old Ed ever listen to, you ever listen to baseball games with him?
Ed Allen,
Yeah.
oh yes, he was sure interested in baseball.
Oh,
Well, at that time it was on mostly radio, you know.
it's already,
yeah,
yeah.
right.
And today with television, he would have really got,
He'd have really been there playing.
well, he had several crooked fingers. You know, that goes with playing boy baseball. You could catch the ball, if it hits the end of them fingers. He had this one finger, he'd say, over there, and that finger would point out that way, and you'd wonder whether he meant there or there.
You know, that's what I sure enjoyed. I was there in shock for him a couple of years. And guys, boy, you come in for lunch, you sat there and you listened to the baseball game until it was over with. But then you worked till dark too.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't mind that. But right in the heat of the day, boy, that was a good place. You
So I
know?
remember that year of 34. Boy, that was a hot one. We got done threshing in our neighborhood, and then some of the guys went over into the next neighborhood. And they never sent me over there, and I was thankful for that. God, it was horrible. Dad used to tell about one time they were stacking a head of the grain. The header, you know, stacking it. And he and old Charlie Chadwick were in the stack. And the wind was blowing, and that wheat was dry, and here Charlie is trying to light his pipe.
Oh.
And Dad said, "My God, Charlie, you ain't gonna smoke here, are you?" He said, "Can't if I get the damn thing lit."
You know, you talk about that. They have all these steam and threshing deals. Why weren't there more stubble fires?
I don't know.
You know,
I guess they were a little bit careful.
all that fire out in the middle of these stubble fields,
Yeah.
and you very seldom heard of a stubble field,
No.
or I don't ever recall it.
Well, there was some guys, when they got done threshing, they would go to work and set the straw pile of fire and burn it up.
Yeah, yeah. I remember that. Dad could never figure out why they'd done that. They'd gone, let it go to, do that with it, why they didn't blow a pile up ahead of a canyon and stop that water erosion.
Did you took that old picture down to get a copy, didn't you? That
I
thrashing
did.
crew?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Wren's got it. Wren's son's
Okay.
got it.
That's what, she got one that, for the falls coming up here in this country, that's how they got up here. The thrashing crew.
Threshing crew, that.
Yeah,
Your folks,
my grandparents,
all your
or
friends.
great grandparents,
So they came from where?
Missouri.
Missouri?
The mule country.
Well, my paternal grandfather, when he came over, he went to stop Quincy, Illinois. He was a teamster. And he came out here in this country, he wanted to raise horses.
Oh.
He had horses, but it should have been cows.
Yeah.
You know, when you have horses and you get a depression, those horses aren't worth a darn.
Yeah.
But cows are food.
Well, we don't always make the right decision.
Don't always make the right decision. Well, I say, when Mary and I started out, when we first got a few dollars, we should have bought more land.
Oh, yeah.
Bought more land, bought more land. Hell, we'd have been paper millionaires now.
You don't wanna be millionaire. You wouldn't be any happier than you are right now.
Probably not.
You know, they always,
Money isn't everything.
they still say this, if you just stop and think about it, what you pay rent could go through pay.
Oh, yeah.
Can't help but with the price of this land
I
going
think-
like it is.
I think when we were first married, we paid about
I do.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
you see, first place, you gotta drill a well. Then you've either gotta form a pivot or do some land leveling. Then, if you irrigate, you gotta grow corn. So you gotta get corn equipment. You gotta get drying equipment. And there you are, way over $100,000 in debt, and you don't even have that first year of corn
You
yet.
were at that time, you'd be in more now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had to drill a new well 2 years ago. I had one give up on me.
How long have you had the first one?
Well, that was put in '75.
Oh, okay.
My first well was in, the first irrigation well up in our country. Well, there's one across the canyon there. It was '67 when I put my first one in. I sold this place across the road. Took the money, built an irrigation well.
Oh.
That's why I used this house across the street here.
Well, folks, I guess that's about the end of what I'm gonna tape for tonight, and I wanna thank each and every one of you for coming and participating in this. And we'll probably be getting together again on some more, and we'll show these later on.
Great.
As we go along, we're gonna try to get them showed this coming winter. Thank you.
You bet.
Well, thank you, Wren. We couldn't do this without Wren to do all the
Right.
photographing and her